Okay, guys, as far as the injuries are concerned, Rob and Devontae, they came in, they're a little sore, so Rob with his ankle will not participate today. Devontae has a sore hamstring. Everybody else will be limited, but we'll take it a day at a time with those guys. Not expecting it to affect their game status, but like I said, we'll take it a day at a time.
So Steve is limited today?
Yeah, he'll take like half the reps.
Do you expect him to play it?
We'll see.
So have you guys turned the page and moved on from?
Yeah, absolutely. We turn the page on Monday, so there's a lot of good things that we can learn from it, whether we end up, getting that result that we want or not. And I was proud as hell of our football team. I love the resolve of this group. I think they're a mentally and physically tough team. And, sometimes that adversity can be a great opportunity for you to be able to, use it as a chance to be able to move forward accordingly. Long season. And I think we've had, good consistent growth through the first 3 weeks. And what a great challenge we've got with an excellent football team that's complete. They're really well coached. They're playing really well in all three phases. And got a ton of respect. I mean, the tape is super impressive. They've played with a lot of leads. They obviously had a game where they went toe to toe with, Denver, back and forth, comes down to the wire, kind of similar to our game against Philly the other day, if you will, in terms of how the ending played out. But it seems like that's kind of been a very consistent theme with the league this year.
Does Daniel Jones look like the same guy, you went up against a few years ago?
He's a stud. I think what he's doing is he's seeing the field well. I think Shane does an excellent job of, being able to cater to players' strengths. And you look at it, and he's playing in rhythm. He's playing on time. They're a really well-orchestrated unit. They do a lot of really good things. He's obviously got the mobility to be able to make you pay as a runner, but I think he's reading well with his feet. He throws the ball with great accuracy and anticipation. And, you see, he's had some really good glimpses with his tenure in the Giants. I know from talking to Kevin how much he enjoyed being with him in Minnesota. And, it's been impressive to watch their overall operation with Daniel leading the way. And then obviously Jonathan Taylor and their skill players and their offensive line. There's no weaknesses. It's why they're, the best offense in the league through 3 weeks.
He's only been sacked twice so far. Is there anything you've seen on film that is the reason why for that?
Yeah, I think they're not playing behind the sticks. I think they've had like 2 2nd and 11 pluses the whole year. They punted once, so they're being really efficient, and they're being efficient in both phases, both the run and the pass. They've got great playmakers. They play 11 as one. That's what we always look to try to be able to do. But whether it's on offense or defense, you see a team that is really well coached. They got great players at all different types of spots, and they play together, which is why they're in the position that they are in. And it's a great challenge.
Coach, what have you seen?
Teams that have had low expectations on the outside coming into a year, like the Colts, that come in surprising people. What is the energy like in the building? Kind of find something.
I think we try to be inside out as much as possible. I think when you watch that team, there's a lot of belief in themselves, in each other. They enjoy it, and that's all that matters. I think it's fun, the amount of attention that our league gets. But every single year, it seems like this league is so competitive, and you hit your stride at the right time, and you continuously improve, and you got the right guys at the key spots, and you capitalize on some of that momentum where it can really compound for you. It can be a really powerful thing. And so, that's why you look at the tape. The tape tells you the story. How good of coaches that they have, how good some of the personnel is. They got some young guys that have really done a great job, and some other players that have been excellent that look rejuvenated and playing at a high clip. So it's a great challenge for us coming in here.
As far as the defense is concerned.
Our defense. Okay. Yep. No, you're good.
When you look at how you guys have been able to evolve in the last few
Sure.
years, what are some of the things that really have stood out to you as far as the things that you've been pleased with and some things that you want to continue to improve upon and work on?
Yeah, I think our style of play, our toughness, our physicality, I think we're a relentless defense, with our front. I was really pleased with how we stopped the run. I was really pleased with how we swarmed to the football, and they've got some great players that they were able to make some plays. I think you don't want to make people earn everything. We've had a couple penalties. It's been minimized, but there was a couple ones that extend drives. And then in some instances when it's a bang, catch tackle, let's not try to let's bring the guy down instead of maybe trying to address the ball until our help gets there. But I've been really pleased with our defense. You look at it, and obviously we want to be able to come away with that result. But man, there were so many good things throughout the course of the game. You don't get a 26-7 lead without some excellent stuff. I think when we earn the right to be able to get people in known pass situations, you feel like you get a chance to be able to have the pen in your hands defensively. But I've been really pleased with them. I love the way that Chris and our defensive coaching staff is really being able to bring the skill sets of each of these players to life. I love the way they stay connected. I love the way they celebrate each other's successes, and I love the way they stay even-keeled when we face some adversity. And I feel that way about our whole team. But I'm excited about us continuing to really be able to develop and establish our identity. And I think there was a lot of stuff the other day that's in alignment of what we're hunting up.
Sean, a week ago we were talking about Saquon having that burst of speed
Yep.
once he gets past. Is Jonathan Taylor similar to that?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, he's excellent. He's a slash runner. He's a home run hitter. I think, they do a great job. He's got a great feel where, you give him a vertical seam, he gets clean to the second level, and then he's even had some dirty runs where he'll make people miss and then end up coming out the gate for, 50 yards, or he can take it to the house. So he is special. He's dynamic, and, it's going to be a similar theme in terms of you have to get 11 hats to the football because of how great this guy is.
And just a quick follow-up to what you had told Gary, you turned the page Monday. Is there anything in your past that reminds you of that was a tough loss and we used it to build upon?
Oh yeah, I mean, shoot, there's a lot of when you care much, you feel much, and so But what I was proud of is when you really watch, and what does the tape tell you? What do you see on tape? We talk about all the time. I mean, you look at it, it's wild. There's 161 total plays in that game when you combine offense, defense, and special teams, and it comes down to that 161st play, whether or not you win or lose the game. Well, if you pause the game before that last play and you say, what are you saying about it? Even though the narrative is you're either 2-1 or 3-0, you have to be honest and acknowledge those things. And there's a lot of good stuff. There's always going to be stuff that we can clean up. But I'm more interested in seeing how we lean into, hey, man, that was a challenging result, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't steps that we took in the right direction if we want to continue to build as a football team. This will callous us the right way. We got the right kinds of guys. Certainly we wanted that. I wanted that for our players, for our coaches. It didn't go down, but there's going to be a sense of urgency correcting some of the things that we need to be able to address that maybe wouldn't exist otherwise. And here we go on to the Colts.
Sean, it seems like Quentin Lake has just been constantly around the ball these first couple of weeks. What areas has he improved his game this season? Yeah,
he's so versatile. He's so tough. I think when you're playing, the majority of his snaps are coming from the the nickel slot position, and you get a lot of play ops. You're around the football based on how the landscape of the league unfolds. There's a lot of inside out passing. There's a lot of the perimeter control and some of the the RPOs, the screen game, and he's been outstanding. I think his technique is great. I think if you just watch the way that he plays snap in and snap out, this guy is a dog. And he's got such a great way about just being able to lead his teammates. He's so damn smart. He's so tough. I think technically he's playing really well in the coverage phases. He's taken on, he does a lot of different things where you're in essence in some of the traffic situations that inside linebackers are in. He's stout, and so, he's a complete football player. And then when we're in our base defense, he's playing safety. So I love Quentin Lake. I'm really grateful to be working with him, and I've been really pleased and proud of, what he's done through the first 3 weeks.
Sean, I know it's only 3 games, but we talked about the importance of getting off to a fast start.
Yep.
You've been able to do that. What's allowed you to do that, do you think?
You're saying just overall?
Yeah.
I think our guys have come out and they've executed. We got I think we've started fast really defensively in all 3 games. You could say 2 out of the 3 games we've started okay offensively, but, ultimately, how do we put together 4 quarters? And the most important thing is how you finish. We saw that in our first 2 games, had a chance to be able to do that the other day in spite of some of the momentum that they were able to establish, and it didn't go down for us. But I love this team. I love the resolve, and ultimately what we're hunting up is how many ways can we just sustain execution throughout the course of the game. The enemy has a say, but if we can do that and we can play with our style, with that relentless approach, I think a lot of good things are going to happen.
When you have a play like Tyler Collins on Sunday, what does that feel like as a coach and as a sideline coach to impact which delivers?
Yeah, I think, I think those types of plays, they bring momentum to the whole team. You get a free runner because there's a little bit of confusion. They try to quick snap you right there, and It's big time. He's had a couple sacks already this year. We had a couple situations where there were some, free runners the other day, and I think we've done an excellent job. Our defensive coaches and Chris and those guys doing a good job of putting people in the right positions. And so ultimately the players then delivering. And, Tank's a guy that brings great energy all the time, but that was a big-time play for us.
When you watch back the film from Sunday, what do you feel like you guys did as a run game to be so effective against a team like the Eagles?
We strained. Guys stayed connected. They played through the echo of the whistle. Even on the one jet sweep to Jordan Whittington, watch how hard it was for Matthew to get that exchange. He's full laid out extension, but I thought guys strained. I thought there was a strain to be able to finish, a strain to get connected, a strain to be able to try to get yourself in a position to stay connected through the echo of the whistle. I thought our runners ended up breaking some tackles. Our receivers competed without the ball. Tight ends competed. It was an all-11 effort, and that's the type of stuff that we want to be able to build on when you just say, what does this tape tell you? I like what I saw in the run game. I like what I saw overall, and I like a lot of the things that we can build on. Yeah. Yeah, I think he did a great job with Minnesota last year. I think he's very instinctual. He understands based on certain situations and where he'll have some play ops he's taking advantage of, some overthrown balls. And if he gets his hands on the football, he's going to catch it. But great concept trigger, great instincts. Lou does such an excellent job of being able to put people in favorable positions to accentuate their skill sets. And he's been a big-time signing for him. He was a baller, going against him twice last year. All right. Thanks, guys.
Have a game like last week where you felt like you weren't placing the ball where you wanted. What's the process of resetting going into this week?
No reset, just continue to do what I always do. Know that those kind of days are going to happen. Frustrating when it happens, but, was able to kind of get it going and feeling better. That 2-minute drive was putting the ball right where I wanted to every time, so for the most part. So just continue to throw, trust the process, trust what I do to get ready week in and week out and go play.
What is there ever like a cause for that kind of day? I mean, or is it just happens? You play enough games you're not.
Yeah, I don't try to think too much about it. Just go back to doing what I always do, work the way I always work. Understand that you go to an NBA game, you watch guys shoot the ball, best shooters in the world, the guys that can make it every time, and sometimes they have nights where it doesn't go down, and maybe they got to get to the hole a little bit more and find different ways to score. So happens. I'm not too worried about it.
You said right after that game there was no doubt in your mind this team would respond. Can you expand on that as you go into this week?
Yeah, I just know the kind of character of the guys that we have in this room. We're really on our team, and just know what our coaching staff's about, know what our guys are about, and know, what kind of football we put on tape. We didn't come away with the result that we wanted, but the work that we're putting in is paying off when you look at the tape, and we just got to continue to work and know that our best football is still ahead of us while we're still, playing at a decent clip at the moment.
What were your first impressions?
Really well coached. I got a lot of respect for Lou. I think he does a hell of a job. Been up against him a few times, and he gives you a lot to look at the quarterback position. I think they've got, talented players at all three levels. Both their corners are guys that have played football, in the NFL for a long time and are talented guys. Got some guys that are really disruptive up front. Their backers are running hit guys. So really every level of their defense, I feel like they've got guys that can, impact the game. And I think they're in the right place at the right time. They're well coached. I think he puts them in position to be successful. And then, they're obviously 3-0 playing at a good clip right now. So it'll be a challenge like it is every single week for us.
You've been on teams in the past that, similar to the Colts, didn't have outside expectations coming into the season, and you start ripping off some wins and moving along. What's the energy in the building when something like that happens?
Anytime you win games, it's a great feeling in the NFL. There's so much that goes into it. Each week you pour everything you got into it, time, physicality, mental, emotional, all that. All the energy you have goes into trying to win a game. So when you win it, it's great. When you lose, obviously, it's not as fun. But, when you get on a run like the Colts are on, it's fun. You want it to keep rolling, that's for sure. So I'm sure we'll get their best shot.
When you're talking to refs on the field, either before or during games, what are you talking about?
It depends. Sometimes I'm, know the guys a little bit better than other guys or been around for a little bit longer. Most of those guys are awesome and have good conversations, asking me about my family, or some of these guys are, from way back. So, been able to talk to him about a bunch of stuff. But there's obviously in-game, the communication is a little bit more football focused. But, pre-game, there's usually certain guys that want to chat up a little bit more and certain guys that don't. But happy to talk to them.
Is there a story that stands out about something that one of them said to you before the game?
No, I mean, before the game, most of the time it's pretty cordial. They're asking about, like I said, my family, or I'm asking about, their past, or, if we've run into each other. He's not a ref anymore, but Steratore was a hell of a time out there. He was an all-timer. He picked me up from getting hit on a scramble one time after a throw. He's like, hell of a throw, Matty. And I was like, thanks, man. He's a good dude. And you could communicate. That's my favorite, just guys that can communicate, whether or not they understand we're in a heated battle just like they are. I mean, sometimes I'm sure I come across a little bit more crass than I want to, or aggressive, and so I try to go right back to him afterwards and be, hey, man, I'm just trying to tell you what I saw or whatever I thought. But most of those guys are great.
How conscious are you of, like, when you guys are rotating running backs and Blake's coming in? When they come into the huddle, are you conscious of that, or it's just we're going to run the play whoever the
Yeah, we're just running plays. When it comes to those two guys, I think we're lucky to have really two talented guys. Obviously, both those guys have played great the last couple weeks. Kyron was an unbelievable tone setter for us. His play with the football was great. His play without the football was probably better, which is tough to say because the guy ran the ball great. But you go and watch the tape again and just watch what he was doing from a physicality and an effort standpoint. It was top-notch stuff. So happy to have both those guys.
It seems like Puka has really excelled at like every aspect of the receiver position. At least the stats seem to indicate that. What's it like to have somebody, and how does it affect your processing when you have someone who's good at everything like that?
I think we have a lot of well-rounded guys at the receiver position, to be honest with you. He definitely does a hell of a job. When we ask him to do stuff, since he's gotten here day one as a rookie, his what's been on his plate has just kind of grown, and he's done a great job of being able to own all that. And there hasn't really been a whole lot of stuff that we've asked him to do, or coaches have asked him to do, that he hasn't been able to do. So it's awesome. It's great for our football team. Again, really him and really all of our receivers, if you go back and watch the tape too, their play with the football was awesome, but play without it was incredible too. And he's a tone setter when it comes to that. What we ask him to do without the football is as impressive, if not more impressive to me than, what he does when the ball's in the air.
Sean said that Steve Avila will be back at practice today. Just what do you feel like he brings to your offense when he's out there on the field?
Yeah, obviously a big, talented football player, a guy that has played a lot of meaningful snaps for us. I know he's been doing everything he can to try to get to feeling as good as he possibly can as soon as he can. So happy for him that, he's feeling good enough, to be out there. So
You feel like you get, and other players in the league get some veteran latitude in terms of what a referee might call and what they might not call. And I'm asking specifically, like on Devontae on his touchdown catch, the ability to separate, as it were. Do you think that you guys, as veteran players, sometimes get a little bit more leeway than the younger players?
I don't know that age has as much to do with it, as much as you sit in enough of those meetings early in training camp where the refs are out at our practice and they're talking to us about what they're looking for and what they're not going to be able to see, and then you're able to, as getting the play right and knowing where to line up and running your route becomes second nature. Okay, now let me work on all the other tools of my trade, and so for some people that happens as a veteran, and for some people that's accelerated. I feel like it happens earlier. I don't know that any ref is sitting there going, oh, in live action, oh, it's Devontae, never mind, or whatever. So I surely don't feel like I don't get a whole lot of love. There was one high one last week that I thought was kind of up in the chin area. I didn't say too much about it, but I didn't get a whole lot of love on that one. So we've picked up a roughing the passer for a low shot this year already too. So no, it is what it is. It's just those guys are doing a hell of a job doing everything they possibly can. And I don't know that the guy's veteran status has much to do with that. I mean, it's just got to look like a million guys running around as fast as they can. They're doing their best job. Cool. Oh, you got one more? Yeah, go ahead.
As a veteran guy that has turned the page, Sean says turn the page Monday, were you doing that as a rookie, or is there some losses like this that are just mentally and emotionally tougher to get past?
You're asking me to go way back right now. Trying to remember what I was doing my rookie year. I was probably just sweating what Wednesday's install was going to look like. No, I do think you got to understand it's a long season, and there are games that you feel like you're going to play well enough to win the game. You don't win it for whatever reason. There's going to probably be a game in the year where we felt like we didn't play as good enough to win, but we were able to find a way to win it. And so that happens in this league. Obviously it's a results-oriented business. We want to win the game, and that's what everybody cares about. But at the same time, got to take the positives from it, learn from what we need to, correct and get better, and go. And I mean, if you spend too much time thinking about anybody in this league, the next team's going to, jump up and hit you in the face. And we got a great opponent that's 3-0 coming into our place, and as hot as any team in the league on both sides of the ball. So get your attention real quick. If you're worried about last week, then something's wrong with you.